Hello, Thursday. I am thinking on Thursdays we're going to do a little more reading comprehension, sort of stuff like we might have done in class, a little more like that. Um, but I've got it down as reading tools, which could be pretty much anything, so we'll figure it out. There's a few concepts, though, that I want you to be familiar with as you start or continue or look back on your journey with the novel Dracula by Bram Stoker. Now, Dracula is a Gothic epistolary novel. A Gothic epistolary novel. So, what does that mean? A Gothic novel is a genre that started in Victorian England, and it has a, a pretty good amount of recognizable features, so that you can tell it pretty easily, a Gothic text. Some of those features are, gloomy, decaying settings like castles with trapdoors and hidden passageways and things like that. That's a very popular Gothic feature. There's often supernatural beings, in this case, vampires, but, monsters, ghosts, whatever. It's often concerning like a prophecy or a curse of some kind. Again, this is sort of the curse of Dracula and the curse that he puts on people by turning them into vampires. And a big one for Dracula that is a feature of Gothic literature is damsels in distress. So basically, in Gothic novels, regular Gothic novels, like most of them, you'll have the heroic man and the woman who needs to be saved. That it was Victorian England. So you'll notice as you continue to read Dracula that the women in this text, there are they're definitely victims, but they also have their own agency. So this is a little bit on the edge of what a Gothic novel could be. It could be a lot more sexist, but this one, Mina gets to do some heroic things herself instead of just having Jonathan do them. Gothic also refers to gloomy weather often. It was a dark and stormy night. Intense emotions are common in Gothic literature, usually, romantic yet doomed emotions, sort of that tumult, but really intense emotions. Um, dreams and nightmares are something that come up a lot. So, what are some other Gothic novels? Um, I would say Jane Eyre, very popular novel. Um, if not being Gothic itself, definitely takes a lot of Gothic elements, especially in the beginning and the end of the book. Um, Frankenstein, definitely Gothic. Um, Anything with vampires tends to be a Gothic work. Turn of the Screw, if you've heard of that, it was recently made into a movie called The Turning. Turn of the Screw by Henry James. That's a very Gothic novel. So that's what Gothic means. It's that mood, that atmosphere, those sorts of recurring themes. That's what makes a novel Gothic. So epistolary. I said it was a Gothic epistolary novel. What does epistolary mean? Well, from the Greek, epistle means letter. So an epistolary work is told through letters, journal entries, official documents. So you'll notice it's like Jonathan Harker's diary, and then a note one of the women writes to the other one, or Mina writes to John, or back and forth. So it's letters and other written documents like that. And what's interesting in an epistolary novel is that because you're getting these sort of artifacts instead of an overarching narrator, um, some things come into focus. One is you have to infer a lot. We've talked about inference. Inferring is when you have to sort of make an educated guess on something based on what's written in the book, but not explicitly stated, not said outright. So you need to infer a little because these texts, there's, like I said, there's no narrator to tell you what's going on. You have to sort of infer it from what the characters are writing. It also, especially back in the day in Victorian England, it makes it more credible, more believable. A lot of novels back then were written this way. The first novels were written this way in English, as if you found this package of letters, right, and you're just publishing it the way it is. That's sort of a pretext that a lot of novelists used back then, and now novelists still use it, but it's more of a conscious choice of view, because point of view, another really important factor in epistolary writing, point of view, you're seeing this through other people's eyes. So like I said, you have to infer a lot because you're not getting the narration. You're just getting, say, what Jonathan Harker sees, writes, feels, not what necessarily is going on. And you notice you never see it, I don't believe ever, in the point of view of the titular character. Titular, by the way, means from the title. In this case, Dracula is the titular character. So from the title of the book, titular. So we don't see his point of view. We see other people reacting to him and what they see and what they think. So lots of different points of view. And sometimes those points of view may not, mesh up with each other. There may be some discrepancies. There may be some things left out, some things added in, some things that when you take two of the letters by different authors, they might even contradict each other. So you have to really be careful with point of view in a novel like this. So it's a great opportunity to study point of view, and I'm sure we'll get to that before the month is out. What else do I want to say about Gothic novels? The last thing I want to say about Dracula is there are a lot of, another new word, dichotomies. A lot of dichotomies in this novel. A dichotomy, di means two, a dichotomy means two things that are in resistance to each other. It's either one or the other. They can't be anything in between or, anything other than black or white. That's sort of a dichotomy. Black and white is the main. We use that term to describe dichotomies because it's so popular. So, obviously, in Dracula, good versus evil is the main dichotomy. But then you've also got, which I think is really interesting, this East and West dichotomy. Notice Dracula comes from Eastern Europe, Romania, Transylvania. And the other characters come from England, which is in Western Europe. So there's this interesting play of the East and the West. And again, this is of its time. Is it biased? Yes. Is it a little racist? Probably. But back then, especially, people today still do, but back then especially, they would consider spirituality, superstition, stories that, zombies and vampires, things like that, are all attributed to the East. It's sort of a mysticism realm, whereas the West is seen as science and industry and proving things and thinking intellectually. Um, Again, like I said, it's a little racist, but that's the way, because this is a Western audience, that's the way that they thought of things. The East was very mysterious, and therefore they thought it, had all these qualities that they found mysterious. I've actually seen a movie version of Dracula where Dracula is actually Chinese, which brings that out even more. And I think that can be a really interesting element in the novel. Again, think about COVID-19 coming from the East, this unknown evil to the West. Like, there's a lot of, again, potentially racist things that you could say to link those two. Um, like I said, Dracula is ripe for interpretation, for metaphor, for symbol. Um, so you've got East-West, science, superstition, good and evil, and the last dichotomy that I want to talk about we call the Ave Eva. Ave Eva. I'm giving you lots of new terms today. Ave Eva. AVE/EVA. And basically, not to explain the whole thing, but to boil it down, it says, women, there's only two kinds of women, right? There's the chaste, innocent woman, and there's the worldly, sexual woman. And you can't have anything in between. You're one or the other. And usually unfortunately, usually the modern sexualized woman is dangerous or even evil. In what may have been the first British vampire novel was about a woman. And in a way, that fits even more with the Ave Eva theory. But yeah, if you'll notice, again, the women in this novel, very pure, innocent, above reproach, and Dracula represents this sexualization of the women that goes in some ways against Victorian England. Victorian England is a really interesting place because we think of the Victorians as being very fussy, censoring things, not talking about sex or pregnancy or anything potentially racy like that. But at the time, gosh, I think it's like 1 in every 9 houses in England at that time was a brothel. So it was sort of reality and then what they wanted to represent as their reality were two very different things. They were dichotomies. And that's shown a little in this Ave Eva dichotomy. So, a lot to take in maybe, but you can watch this video as many times as you want. You can watch it while you're doing the quiz. That said, there is a quiz. It's 5 questions. It's not hard. And like I said, you can watch this video. I don't care how you know the answer. My interest is just that you know the answer. I'm not going to try to trick you and make it, hard. Use your skills. Watch the video as many times as you need to. And I think that's it. I want to talk about vocabulary in this section in the future. So you'll notice there's an not required, but the last question in the quiz is just, what are the words that you don't know that you read in the text this week or whatever. So I want to know what words you don't know so that we can then make them into vocabulary words, find out what they do mean. Okay? So that is it for Thursday. Fridays are going to be a day just for you to read. I want you to have time to read, not just in your leisure time, but during class time. So we won't be meeting on Fridays, at least until someone tells me that I can't do that. But I'm doing it now. So we won't be meeting on Fridays. The IXL punctuation problems will be due. Sorry, will be due tomorrow, but there won't be a lesson for you to watch. Take that time and actually read so that on Tuesday you can tell me what page of the book you're on. So that's going to be the assignment every Tuesday. After we have the punctuation lesson, then your assignment by midnight on Tuesday is to send me what page of the novel you are on, and there'll be a link for that. Okay? Thank you guys for listening to me babble on about things that I'm excited about, and I hope that some of you might get excited about some of these things too. All right? So have fun reading tomorrow, and I will see you in a conference call on Monday. All right, guys. Bye.